Hello and welcome to my cellar. I got a few to answer. It was a light week. I'm not sorry about that. Of course, I'll probably talk too long anyway. We'll start off with a honest man. I can't think of a question this week, but I just want to tell you that I appreciate all your videos. Thanks. Well, thank you for not having a question this week. All right. Now to something serious. I was wondering what you thought, and I do appreciate the appreciation. I was wondering what your thoughts on AD&D Second Edition are, provided you're familiar with it. How would you have done a Second Edition to AD&D if you'd have the opportunity to do so? Well, I didn't do the first day in D&D. I just helped put it together. Gary wrote it up. There were a few minor things changed, or whatever. Nothing important. Okay, but it was pretty much, it was probably 92 to 95% exactly what we got done with in that week in his office. I don't know a ton about second. I do know that they fixed a lot of typos, and that's a good thing. And they clarified a couple of things, and that's always a good thing. As to what got changed or altered severely, I'm not aware. And from what I know of second, I don't see it's all that much different than first. But then again, I don't exactly play first by the book either. So there's what my thoughts are worth on that. All right, now, nothing like a good argumentative question, except comment rather. Except it's not a question. It's. I see no reason why organized sparring tournaments or athletic spectator tournaments that are not lethal combat but simulated combat with diverse opponents isn't an activity that awards experience points. Okay, I don't. As a DM, I'm not going to waste my time setting up non-lethal sparring contests. Given a chance, I'm addressing player characters here. Given a chance, do you want to go get your brains beat out with wooden swords in a tournament for fun? Or wouldn't you rather take some risks and trek off to somewhere where there's some danger, excitement, and loot? If you as a DM want to set up a bunch of non-lethal, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I don't want to. I think it's way more outside detail than you need to have fun playing fantasy role-playing. My personal opinion, your mileage may vary. My first edition Bard was great. He had 2 wives and a bardical lute, and he had a patch on one eye, and he captained a ship. All right. Okay, we're gonna. There's more talk about Bards later. The Bard was a really challenging player to develop, but once you got there, it was a boatload of fun. One of the most fun of all the player characters, because you had so many diverse skills. You were so handy. You could always find employment. You could always find a way to get over on somebody. All right. Do I award experience points to players in your Wheel of Blame game? No. If not, maybe you should give your pre-gens the opportunity to gain experience and level up. No. So the next group of players that comes along can continue with the previous gang left off. No. Should have a running tally of prestigious heroes that survive to fight another day and place added pressures on your player for Keeping Simon the Survivor a Wheel of Blame All-Star was... No. 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 This isn't what the Wheel of Blame is about. The Wheel of Blame, the original hokey background that I used to spiel, that the Carnival Barker thing I did before was, okay, well, for whatever reason, you've pissed off somebody, you incurred somebody's wrath, or you're in a vainglorious attempt to prove your worth, you find yourself as candidates on the Wheel of Blame. Okay, that's all it is. It's a one-off. It's real creative problem solving. It's playing like you don't recognize the existence of a box to think out of. I buffed up the pre-gens recently just because I wanted them a little more capable of challenging me and what I had set up for them to meet. The wheel is just a fun exercise of fantasy role-playing, loosely based on D&D. Everybody gets a pre-gen. They have their stats and their hit points and what they're equipped with and what they're carrying and all that stuff. And I don't care about the minutia of pitons and hammers and rope. Anything more than 20 feet of rope, you have to note. Anything odd, I don't count rations. If you got a sling, I don't count rocks. If you're the archer, I don't count arrows. All right, it's not a long enough term situation where that stuff. So the minute logistics I don't get into. If you got something like a bag of marbles or a box of rocks or a sack of mice, and you write it down on your pre-gen sheet before the game starts, then that's fine, and you pull it out. I've had all those things. I had somebody write down a bag of superlative weed that we actually used very successfully to get through an encounter. That's all it is. It's let's go have fun. The premise being, oh, gee, if you screw up and you don't obtain one of the little tokens that just conveniently happen to have my face on them, as drawn by Jim Wampler some while ago. I'm looking for it here. And anyway, there it is. Supposedly if you don't get one of these, you don't get off, and you're doomed to tread the wheel forever, or until you get another chance, whatever. It was just a hokey setup for having some role-playing fun, for me to exercise my imagination by taking the two items, the two things that each of the players gives to me to work into the adventure. It's like a giant version of story dice. All right? If you're thinking about becoming a DM, I highly recommend that you go to your friendly local game store or your good children's toy store and you get yourself 2 or 3 sets of story dice. Story dice are just dice with pictures on them of different things. They have different themes and sets. Try to find something that you can deal with. It doesn't matter. They're practice for telling and extrapolating on something as it develops. I have a 6-year-old great-granddaughter who is the apple of my eye and who is slightly ADD. And she has an amazing imagination, but won't sit still long enough to listen to a story. However, I got out my bag of story dice and I said, okay, we're going to play story dice. And we each started out drawing 3 out, and she could take whatever side she wanted, and I'd take whatever popped up, and we told each other stories. And it kept her attention for well over half an hour, which is like twice as long as you get her sit still during a book. And we're going to do it some more. As a budding DM, you do the same thing. You grab get the military ones, get the fantasy ones, get the ones with knights and swords and shields and stuff. Roll them out and make up a story. Make up a hook. Make up an adventure hook right there. And that's how you can make spin-off adventures. As you go through in your campaign, how you can spin stuff off Once you get adept and adroit at using those story dice, you'll become a much better DM. You'll be spinning off side stories, and they'll arise organically, and you won't be racking your brain of what to come up with next. Just take those notes as they happen, and those side stories develop themselves. Great technique. Can't recommend it enough what you can do with those. But really, the wheel is just the wheel. It's just there for fun, just to have a good time. Okay, here's an interesting question. I think I might have an answer, but why is the mace the least favorite weapon? It just never gets any spotlight. It was used in medieval history and required little skills to unleash its power. Interesting question. The mace was especially favored by fighting clergy because they were prohibited from shedding blood. Nobody ever looked at what the mace did inside the helmet after you whacked him a good one with it. But it didn't splash. So Bishop Odo was known for his prowess with a mace. I don't know. Perhaps because you can't poke with it. Taking the standard, the trope of the 10 by 10 corridor, 10 feet wide, 10 feet tall. And if because everybody is, of course, 6 feet taller and taller, swinging a mace overhead risks hitting the ceiling. And a sword you can poke with and do damage. And as you're not calling out, I'm swinging, I'm poking, I'm slashing, you just say, I'm attacking, then I would guess that you're doing more poking than great overhead arcing slashes. Just, we're making assumptions here, and we've been doing it for since 1974. So, okay, a mace doesn't feature in any of the old movies from the late 40s and the 50s. All the Ivanhoe movies and that, everybody fights with bows or with swords, and so maces don't have that association. Maces don't look glorious. Now, personally, if I was a civilian drafted up to fight for the, I don't know how to handle a sword. Give me a flanged mace, and then I can really screw people up. That's what I'd want. Something that I can just use like a short bat, like I'm choking up for a punt. I don't know. Now, this got a reply. If you're not using weapon type versus armor type rules, the sword is the optimum weapon as it has the highest damage values. Good point. Some people didn't go into that level of detail. That's one of the few gritty things that I like, is the weapon type versus armor. All right. Chainmail does not do much to mitigate being hit by a hard mace swing. It spreads it out, but not much further than the mace head would spread itself out. However, if you're wearing plate, the mace is a much less effective weapon, more likely to bounce off the plate. I like those differentiations in the weapon versus armor type, but I'm aware that most DMs and most players don't want to get into that level of detail. That's a shame. If they did, the mace would be a much more popular weapon, in my opinion. All right, I'm sure Tim has some insight on why Gary put those values in there, which everyone seems to ignore. Because we were responding to a request, a generalized request for a little more realism. The Society for Creative Anachronism was beginning to become more active in different places in the country, and these guys are out there and bashing each other up with foam-padded swords. And so keep in mind that the very first 3 books had every weapon did D6 and very rudimentary combat. And combat kept getting improved and edited and edited some more as the game evolved in the early stages. And that being part of combat being weapons versus armor types. A sword swung broad-handed, hitting that ring or that mail, is going to do nothing but a small, narrow bruise. Hit that thing with an axe, and you'll do more of a bruise, and you may chop through the links. Hit it with a mace, you're not worried about chopping through the links, you just made a big bruise. Or possibly numb the arm to not being able to use it, dropping the shield, or even worse, dropping their weapon. Gary, I guess you've never, anyone asking this question, I'm assuming never has heard references to Gary and his pole arms. Gary just liked the minutiae of medieval weapons, and so he wanted to show that certain weapons were better against certain types of armor. That was both to influence the weapon type you chose for your character, as well as what kind of armor you chose to wear. Plate and mail was absolutely the best, I still think is the best type of non-magical armor there is, because you get advantages to both. Anyway, can I talk about the Blue Sky talks with me and Gary? Those were just, I don't know, there were days when we were almost giddy because we were so busy and things were just going along. And then there were days we were just like, oh, trying to, we were like the Scream, the guy in the Scream. Things were just so whirling around us that we would retreat, usually to his little tiny study. And we'd break out nasty, cheap cigars and cheap, nasty scotch. And we'd steal an hour from work. And we'd just relax. It was a conscious effort to relax. And then we just talk about what was going on today, this week, this month. And that would lead us to blue skies. What about? What could happen if? Wouldn't it be neat if? At the time, I was doing print runs, I believe, of 5,000 copies of the Dragon, and had about 3,200 sold. But we did 5,000 because it was an enormous price break, and figured, well, we'll sell them as back copies eventually. And decided I was not going to do reprints of a given issue. That was a philosophy we determined early on. And so a blue sky might be, and someday I'll have to up the print run because I've got orders for more than 5,000. Right. Well, nobody but Evelyn Hill's General and S&T's Strategy and Tactics was doing any kind of numbers. And even them, what they were doing, we soon surpassed numbers-wise with Dragon Magazine. And it would be, wouldn't that be great? And then we'd kind of laugh, puff on a cigar and take a sip of scotch and then go off in another thing. And it was those kind of talks that we shared what we were hoping we were going to produce and make to come about, as well as kind of like little giddy little schoolboys. Wouldn't that be fun? And no, it'll never happen, but it'd be so cool if it did. And of course, lots and lots of it did. Okay. This is where we are going to revisit the Bards. Pardon me while I found a good energy drink that even has a couple of ironic ties. I'm busy writing them a letter. See if I can get them to sponsor me. I like it. It's good stuff, though. Okay. Revisiting Bards, class changing, multi-classing, class variance, career changing. There are some DMs that are staunch anti-multi-classing and make a big deal about throttling the power gamers from having ridiculously overpowered characters. Multi-classing isn't all about power gaming, and then this goes on and on and on, and unnecessarily. Multi-classing, in my very limited opinion, the later editions, to use a very coarse term, lost their shit about multi-classing. I understand 5 does a bunch of that. If it isn't power gaming, tell me what it is. By multi-classing, virtually every multi-class I've ever seen is a means of maximizing potential die rolls in all your skills and abilities and your stats. And if you're playing in a system with skills, capital S, and abilities, capital A, it's giving you access to more of those, and it's making you a super normal, way unbelievably potentially loaded character. I know that's kind of vague. Apologize for that. I guess it isn't enough that the basic premise of D&D, when it first was there, that you were already an extraordinary individual because you had lifted yourself up from the muck. You had gotten out from behind the ox's ass and the plow, and you were going to seek adventure and make your fortune. You were already head and shoulders above the common mass of serfdom or mankind or whatever you want to call it. So now you are starting out as like a dilettante with a sword. A little of this and a little of that and a little of this and a little of that and a little of this and a little of that. And ooh, and I got a sword to boot. My opinion. The Bard was an obvious nod to the people then that were talking about multi-classing and making more nuanced character classes. I think the the first edition Bard certainly did that. To go back on that question, what do I know about second edition? They nerfed the Bard, and that was the worst single thing that they did in there that I know of, is they nerfed the Bard. Okay, back to the original question, which was, oh yeah, multi-classing. Sorry, things just pop in sometimes out of order. I'm late, but I'm here. Multi-classing. The Bard was made to be a multi-class because this was a path that, if you were willing to take it, could lead to a very potent character. Many skill sets, very potent. Yeah, and I don't remember the exact level numbers now, but you had to become a certain level of fighter, and then you had to become a certain level of a thief or a cleric, whatever. I had been a while since I've had one. Anyway, you had to meet all these others, and then you had to work your way up and get instructed by the druids And only then did you have the full skill set of the bard. My God, while you were doing that, maybe we'll say for argument's sake 12 different character levels to become a bard. And everybody else in the campaign that has progressed on a commensurate level, they're now 12th level and you're a 5th level bard. They're all 12th level whatever. But you're also a 5th level this and a 3rd level that. And your skill set is much more varied and taken in its entirety, very, very potent. And then the penultimate. People try to get pedantic with me every now and again in the comments. And you got to learn it's never going to come out well. Overstating an obvious observation. Once a player starts playing an NPC, non-player character, the character is longer an NPC. Yes, it is. An NPC is designated as an NPC at the beginning of the adventure or the writing of. In our world, that person who's now dead is running the NPC. Not playing it, running it. If that NPC is a nasty son of a bitch, then the player is playing it, running it, as though he were playing a nasty son of a bitch. He's not a nasty son of a bitch. He's not allowed to make the nasty son of a bitch into a philanthropist. That's not the way it works. Now, if he's playing a nasty son of a bitch and he gets especially nasty, well, hey, the other players might remember that someday. But the DM shouldn't hang him out to dry. If he plays him exactly as you told him to play him, then the DM should back you up and say, don't get on him. He did it the way I told him to. He played it the way I told him to. Or to the level I told him to. Okay. Now the elephant in the corner. Let's talk about that single thing that makes every, particularly D&D, but most fantasy role-playing gamers, PCs, sphincters clench at the mere thought of. What is possibly one of the worst things that can happen to a player character in an encounter. Level drain. Level drain. If you get killed, you could be resurrected or you could be raised dead and dead raised. Okay, there's that possibility. Level drain. You lose everything that it's taken you how long to acquire to come up to this new level of potency. You were a 5th level magic user, just got your fireball, and now you're 4th and don't have it again. Got to go through all that again to get back there. Clerics also suffer grievously from level drain. Fighters, not so much. They lose hit points, yeah. But fighters, not so much. But level drain is really, really vicious for a magic user or a cleric. There has been an interesting dialogue about whether it should be in the game at all. Is it too potent? Well, I'm going to use a euphemism here. The way I've heard it is a little coarser, but there are several screw yous in D&D. Things that happen to the character that are just too bad, screw you. The Rust Monster. You get your nice +4 armor on. Oh, man. And the Rust Monster somehow manages to score a hit on you, and your wonderful magic armor just turns into crap and shards and dust. Rules as written, that's what happens. It's not the way I play it. You can have a mighty rod of, whatever, made of iron and adamant, and the Rust Monster, If it's magic, I give it a chance of not being unmagicked. A chance of it not, damage the armor, but don't take away its magical capability, if you will. That's a wiffle waffle in there, but that's one way you can go with it. Obviously, level drain is the worst screw you move, and if you want to come up with some other screw yous in D&D, feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll talk about them too. But you see what I'm saying? It's just that's it. You do it. Happened to you. Tough luck. Screw you. Level drain is one of them. I believe that not every white, gassed, or other, low level that has it now should, or not in the level that it, in the efficacy, the efficiency that it does. That said, if you are playing in a campaign of whatever sort, and the Dracula is in it and hits you, or gets you in the neck, whatever, yeah, that should be a level drain. If in some part of your campaign you find yourself pitted against a bunch of whites who are led by a super white, do all the minions have that power? No, not permanently. And I'll get back to that permanently in a minute. But the head white, because he's feeding on all the powers of all his minions, yes, he does have that. The big bad super evil bad guy with his rod of level drain, okay? But not all his minions. I think level drain is a legitimate horrible thing that could happen. But I don't think that all the creatures that have it now should. At least not in the form they have it now. Now, how do you nerf level drain? There's a number of ways you can do it. It could be damage to one of your stats. Not your whole thing, but drain a constitution level, or drain an agility, or dex, whichever you call it. Drain one of those a point or two. Those can be restored through there's various spells and things you can do on that. Training, however you want to deal with it. Those are restorable. Those are restorable. A full-fledged level drain means you got to earn all those points all over again. There's nothing that counteracts a level drain. There is no restore level spell. Therefore, that should only be a really dire consequence, not just any old spooky things hanging around in the swamp. Or if that's the case, anything with level drain ought to be worth a lot more experience points. Still wouldn't want to fight them, no matter what they were worth. But that's a way to look at it. If you want to give those, go back to the whites, the minions and the supreme leader. If you want to give the minions a form of it, they can, knock off a stat point or two. They can have some minuses for a while in the course of the adventure. All their initiatives is going to be four worse than what they roll, or their hits are going to be worse because it was a tremendous jolt to the system, yes, but it didn't sap you of everything that constituted a level. That's one way to do it. Instead of losing a level, you lose some capabilities. Just the way I handle it. It is a horrifying thing, as it should be. You read, when Dracula, and you get, sucks the warmth out, and yeah, it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. I'm sure Lovecraft was alluding and writing about some of that, having your very essence sucked out of you. Well, isn't that what it is? It's just your essence is apportioned into so many pieces, and when all the pieces have been essenced out, you go bye-bye. Okay, I think that's all I got on role-playing. Let's talk about board gaming. I've been asked this recently. For instance, Black Seas. Is that a board game or is it miniatures? Well, I think it's a hybrid. Pure miniatures were scads of figures on a table, tape measures or yardsticks or whatever, other measuring devices, and dice rolling. Maneuver, move, whatever. That was miniatures, and board games were chits on a map that had hexes or squares laid down over it, so you had a means of measuring. Black Seas is both. It's a hybrid. It is miniatures in that it has figures, ships. It is miniatures in that it does not play on a gridded surface. You use tape measures to measure distances. Now, there are increments. Okay, there's no partial. If your rate of knots is 5, then you move 5. You don't move 4.5. You move 5. Okay, there is that. So there is some forced restrictions, but very little. That's miniatures. However, combat, boarding actions, whatever, it's board games because it's all dice rolling. I like this type of hybrid because you can play it again and again because the dice rolling introduces a level of chance. So it's replayable. It's got the minis, the big sweep, and the big feel. You're not confined to a small board. I like that part. Of course, I like a lot of hybrids. We played Dirt Track Saturday night on a big map with Matchbox cars, and I made all those chariot teams up to play Circus Maximus. So I do like. I do have a fondness for hybrid games, but what is Black Seas? It's a hybrid. It's both. There's a whole lot of painting and preparation to get your figures ready to play with, but they're really game pieces, so they don't really need to be painted up real fine. They're game pieces. You don't paint your chessmen. You buy a chess set, or you don't paint them. You don't paint your checkers. But you can. And if you're a miniatures or a painting nut or miniaturist, you will. So that's just the way that works. Okay, I think that's about it. Looking forward. Oh man, I'm looking forward to going to Game Hole. And going to TQL Stadium, which is the brand new spiffy stadium built here in Cincinnati for our MLS team, who's so bad. Going there tomorrow and watch a game. First time at the new stadium. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, y'all take care of yourself. Please, if you're going indoors, put a mask back on. We should all be used to wearing them now. This Delta thing is something serious. I hope the Game Hole still goes on, that we aren't in the throes of another outbreak in Wisconsin. So be smart. Care for each other. Dodata go. Oh, hello. I'm still figuring out when this thing starts. Welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Last man around when the race went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard brain. PSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.